We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd like to stand up, join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome to the special session of the Board of County Commissioners. We appreciate you attending this evening. I think this is the first sellout crowd we've had in my 5-year tenure, but it doesn't say much for how exciting things are around here normally. But on the agenda this evening is a presentation by Jim Comodeka. He's the interim director of the Clermont County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and it's in relative to the provision of House Bill 49 adopted by the Ohio General Assembly and signed by the Governor Kasich regarding the adoption of a 1% hotel motel lodging tax by the Board of County Commissioners in order to fund the construction, improvement, and maintenance of a professional sports facility within Clermont County, and to pay the expenses considered necessary of the Clermont County Convention and Visitors Bureau to promote travel and tourism accordingly. According to the Board of County Commissioners Rules of Procedure for a special session, which is where we're at this evening, the board may only address issues that are posted on the agenda. Questions from the board to the presenter shall be limited to points of clarification. Public participation shall be comment only, and the board will not engage in debate. If any member of the audience wishes to comment, please wait to be recognized. All comments are to be directed to the board and not to members of the audience and shall be limited to 3 minutes maximum. In the interest of time, if there are a number of individuals that would like to comment on the same topic, please appoint an individual to speak on their behalf. Just a reminder, no member of the public may comment about a matter that is not within the purview of the Board of County Commissioners' responsibility. If there is a topic that is not germane to this agenda item, please feel free to contact our administrative offices to request this topic be placed on future agenda. Again, thanks for coming, and Mr. Comodeka, if you'd like to come on up and fire up the PowerPoint and entertain us, educate us.
I will educate. That's my goal here tonight. By way of introduction, Commissioner Ubel already told you who I am. My name is Jim Comodeka. I'm a resident here of Clermont County. I'm the interim president of the Clermont County Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm here tonight to provide a little bit of information and guidance on what the tourism industry is, what the Clermont County Convention and Visitor Bureau is all about, and then get into what the plan is or was with this 1% additional lodging tax that we were going for at a certain point here. So I'm going to forge right ahead here. It's important to start from the beginning. And to me, you start from the beginning by looking at the mission statement of the CVB, which is to increase public awareness of travel and tourism opportunities in Clermont County, Ohio. And that's what our goal is. And everything that the Clermont County CVB does is in anticipation of that goal that you see there in that mission statement. And we continue to try to work towards making this a place where people can come and enjoy themselves. So the question is why? Why is tourism important to Clermont County? Let's look at just at Ohio to begin with. Look at some of these numbers here on this chart. And these charts come from the statistics courtesy of the Tourism Economics, Oxford Economics Organization. So these are not internal numbers put together by the Clermont County CVB. They're put together by a separate organization, and they identify that the average number of nights spent in Ohio are 2.1, that 90% of the overnight visitors to Ohio are likely to recommend Ohio as a destination to others. The hotels are the #1 source of the accommodations of visitors into Ohio. That's even more than people who are coming to stay with their family. I don't know what that says, but you know, when my family comes, if they're going to stay at a hotel or they're going to stay at my house. But the statistics are real. These are real numbers and real people that are visiting our county. So the question then becomes, how do we create tourism in Clermont County? You look at the slide right there, that's a trade magazine that we get over at the CVB, and this was just a couple of months ago. Small markets, big on sports. Small markets, big facilities. These are the things that are making a difference in the tourism business right now, and we need to jump on board for what that brings to us. So, recognizing that the county, for example, is going to move forward with these sports facilities, one of the things we need to look at, we need to create events. I think it was President Lincoln that said the best way to predict your future is to create it. When I got involved with the Clermont County CVB, we had lost all the rowing. There was no rowing here in the county anymore. One of the things that the CVB did was invest back in the rowing facility at East Fork Lake, and that results in this right here, U.S. Rowing Club Nationals. 3 years in a row. Usually you only get them 2. We ended up 3. 2,000 athletes, parents, coaches, college scouts, friends, all visiting Clermont County, filling up our hotels. When I went to Jungle Gyms during the event, I saw the Steel City rowing team in Jungle Gyms. I saw another rowing team at the Kroger Amelia, the Kroger Pierce Township Amelia over there. I saw parents down in New Richmond going to restaurants, over in Milford going to restaurants, all leaving their dollars right here in Clermont County. That's what rowing does. In fact, what's just sort of an odd point here, that medal that you see right there is a silver medal from the Rio 2016 Paralympics. One of the Paralympians was out at our rowing facility at East Fork, and she let me take a picture and she let me hold the medal. And if you shake the medal, the Paralympian medals, a gold, a silver, and a bronze all have a different sound, because a number of the Paralympians don't have the ability to see the color. They distinguish it by sound. We had several of those Paralympians right here in our county participating in this event. 28 states represented, over 2 countries, over $3 million in economic impact just for this one event. That's what bringing rowing back to Clermont County did for us. But that wasn't it. We need to do more. We need to create more events. So another item that the CVB got involved in is we facilitated the owners of the Red Barn facility, Nick Rubel, who was a willing owner and willing to put his money where his mouth is and help build out 13 top-notch fields right here in Batavia. And they partnered with the King's Hammer Soccer Club to create this facility out here, what we refer to as the Red Barn facility. Hundreds of teams travel from all over the country for these tournaments. We have generally about 4 tournaments, soccer tournaments there a year. They generate each one over $1 million in economic impact. These are just the soccer tournaments that are held at the King's Hammer Red Barn facility. We have other soccer tournaments in Clermont County that the CVB supports. I know that my son, back when he played in the Dog Days of Summer soccer event, which is in Miami Township, I believe, brings in kids and parents from all the neighboring states. It's an economic driver for this county. We, as the CVB, are out there trying to continue to build on these events, because that's the way Clermont County is going to build. We don't have a convention center. We're not going to have a convention center anytime soon, to the best of my knowledge. But we have what other people don't. We have space. We have a state park. We have soccer facilities that are absolutely unbelievable. And we need to continue to build on those. We need to make them better. Because our competition is not just Cincinnati. We have a friendly competition with our neighbors, Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. We might compete, but we also work together. But we're competing with Columbus. We're competing with Louisville. We're competing with Indianapolis. We're competing with some of these facilities all throughout our region. And they're pouring money into these facilities to lure these sports events in because of the economic impact that they provide. When we decided to bring rowing back to Clermont County as the CVB, we took a bold step forward. There were people that said that was not a good idea. It's been a great idea. And we're going to continue to do that. The rowing won't be back next year. It'll be back soon. They have to share the wealth, so to speak, on these events. It's going to the East Coast and the West Coast, the two different events next year. We knew there was going to be a gap. We needed more events. We partnered with a local company, AFK Geocaching, and we ended up landing one of the biggest geocaching events in North America. It's going to be in May of 2018. It's called Geo Woodstock. What geocaching is, for those that don't know, it's sort of like a modern day treasure hunt. Every time I say that, I get in trouble with the geocachers, but that's okay. They're using their GPS to find locations or little treasures, coins, and it's an amazingly popular event. We're looking at potentially upwards, well, it's not on the, I didn't change the slide, that's why it's not on there. Upwards in excess of 5,000 room nights from this geocaching Woodstock 2018 event. It's going to receive a status within the geocaching community that's never happened in North America. And we're getting close to getting to that point now. The geocache guys are going crazy about it. They're so happy about it. I don't necessarily understand it all, but that's not my job. My job and the job of that staff at the Clermont County CVB is to find these opportunities, bring them to Clermont County, and then once they're here, make sure they're successful. We got an awesome staff over at the Clermont County CVB. We got a very small staff, and they really reach out and cover a lot of different areas. This event for next year with geocaching, it will take place, even though the event is technically only one day, these geocachers stay for a week. They go to the aquarium, they go to East Fork State Park, they go to Jungle Gyms, they go to the restaurants up in Milford and New Richmond, they get over to Miami Township to the parks over there. They cover our whole, they're going to be out at the Williamsburg at the breweries, all the different places, they're going to be covering them. They're going to be leaving their dollars. We already have people registered from Germany, China, Australia, and other countries. This is a big time event. This is the way that we're going to have success in Clermont County. We have to go out and we have to create our future, and that's exactly what we're doing. When you look at the statistics on what Clermont County tourism has done over the last few years, again, not internal statistics, statistics that come courtesy of the Tourism Economics, the Oxford Economics Organization. In terms of tax revenue, the tourism saves Clermont County residents more than $600 annually in their taxes. It's an integral and driving component of this county, sustaining 7.1% of the salary employment. And we want to see that grow. We want to see more and more tourism coming to our region. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to continue this upward climb that we're on? Or how are we going to sustain it? I'll tell you exactly how. Infrastructure, facilities, and how do you get infrastructure and facilities? You need money. When we decided that we wanted to try to do what we could to bring one of the very few professional soccer training facilities right here to Clermont County, we needed money to do that. And we had to figure out a way to find that money. When you go around and you look at all the other jurisdictions, 1% lodging tax, additional lodging tax in Warren County, expected to finance a $15 million sports complex. And they've broken ground and they're moving on that. Northern Kentucky passed an additional lodging tax for the expansion of their convention center. I just got in my email box, it was within the last 2 days, another notice of a entity down in North Carolina that passed a 1% tax for purposes of building up their golf infrastructure, because golf events are what make them money. There's a reason why people in Florida and Tennessee don't have a state income tax. They invite us down to leave all our money for them. This lodging tax is designed for us to be able to keep our facilities where they need to be and grow them. So when the board decided that we needed this 1% tax, it wasn't just willy-nilly. This was not something that did not go with a lot of detail with it. We, first of all, had a board consultant. That board consultant was involved in our meetings, involved in our process, involved in what we were trying to do and how we were trying to grow it. Then we decided we better do a little bit of our own research. We send people, when we started doing rowing again, we sent some of our folks down to Florida to the rowing events. We sent them to the U.S. Rowing Conference because we're educating ourselves and familiarizing ourselves with the product that we hope to be able to sell in our marketplace. That's what we did. We sent them there for that. The geocaching event that we just won, we sent 2 of our staff members to North Carolina to learn more about how Geo Woodstock works, because that's where it was last year. Year before that, we sent people out to Denver to research. How are we going to do this? How many people do we need? How are we going to do it better than anywhere else and continue to grow the reputation? Then after that, we took our trip down when we were looking at the fact that we could potentially bring there's only, 22 professional soccer teams I think in the United States. Three of them are maybe in Canada. One of the facilities, if they get MLS status, their training facility could be right here. It's one of those things that we needed to get on a plane. We went down to Atlanta and we learned. We brought back learnings on what we needed to do, how much space would we need, how are we going to finance this. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel. There's no reason in today's world to reinvent the wheel. You go out, you get the information, whether it's soccer, whether it's rowing, whether it's youth sports, whether it's the Twisted Witch endurance horse race that we're hosting out at East Fork Lake coming up. I've learned there's a lot of crazy stuff out there that people participate in or collect. And they like to have conventions, and we want them all to come here. And so I've learned a lot about that. We even went out, because of the magnitude of this potential project, and we hired independent experts. We hired consultants to tell us. You tell us what the math is going to be. What's the impact of placing this facility here in Clermont County? What's it going to do for the citizens? And when those reports came back from those independent people, we paid them for those, it came back, and it could have come back and said, not a good idea. It came back and said in excess of $50 million economic impact over 5 years. That's a lot of money. That's the kind of money that as we continue to talk with them, and that the Red Barn site is now not going to happen, and it's not happening because the site is in any way poor. It's just geographic location. That's what they told us. We're rethinking what we're doing, but Clermont County is still in the mix. When we sat down with the folks from FC and they said, you know, the Red Barn, we love that facility. We love it. We've loved it since the day Jeff Birding was with FC, but it's too far out for what we want to do right now. The response from the CVB was, okay, well then what are we going to do next? We're not going to quit. We're not going to say that we don't want the facility here. We're going to come up with alternatives for you, send you to other parts of the county. When this began, when this whole idea came to fruition about FC potentially coming to Clermont County, we pitched several different sites to them, all throughout the county. Ultimately, it was FC that chose the Red Barn facility originally as the one that they were going to exclusively negotiate. And we still are under an NDA that requires us not to disclose certain financial information that's important to the soccer club. This is a competitive business, my friends. I've learned a lot as the interim president of the Clermont County CVB about the competitiveness of this business. When we go out and we try to get an event to come here, we're going to do everything we can to land it, sign it, and then announce it. That's the way it works. As we continued to work through this potential opportunity, and we decided that we were going to need money, and we went and we hired more consultants to help us get into the legislative process, work with our local state representatives to put something into the budget. We access the budget the only way you can access through the budget, which is through your state legislatures. That's exactly what we did. Ultimately, the language got changed. It was different than what we submitted because it got tied to just a professional sports team. Long term, the goal is to build up all the facilities that we have throughout this county. We have some other really cool facilities. They're sort of hidden gems here. Tealtown Ballpark's a nice little ballpark. Needs some upgrades, and it has historically brought a lot of visitors into this community with tournaments. We would love to see that facility build. There's some new facilities coming on board here soon. There's an indoor soccer facility up in Miami Township that's going to be opening this fall. We've already engaged them. What can we do to help? We're there to do something. We're there to make a difference. We're here to make the county money. As that 1% tax issue began to brew, it was sort of surprising to me. Shame on me. We had talked to some of our local representatives back in early or late 2016, told them what our plan was, told them that we were trying to make a difference and bring FC here, that we needed this 1% tax. We went out and we met with some of the hoteliers. We couldn't get to all of them, but we met with a number of the hoteliers, explained to them what we were trying to do, why we were trying to do it. Bottom line here is everything was done precisely the way it should have been done. You access the system, the government system, to change legislation one way. It's a public process through your consultants and through your state representatives. They did a good job for our county. They stuck up for us throughout all the other counties. They were able to make a difference. The tax is not in place. I think there might be a misunderstanding. All we asked was for the legislation to be put in place to allow the commissioners, once all the boxes were checked off, to take the necessary action to implement the additional 1% lodging tax. All those boxes have not been checked off yet. So the tax is not in a position where it would be implemented. But that's a lodging tax. That's a lodging tax that our tourists, people coming into our community to stay in our hotels, are paying. It isn't our citizens, it isn't people like me and most of the people in here, Clermont County residents. It's a tax on the tourists that come in and they leave their dollars here behind us. So the bottom line is, I can talk, and I keep talking, and you gotta shut me up sometimes. Sarah's gonna get the big book out here in a minute. I think we got a real positive outlook for this county. We're going the right way. 10 years ago, even Cincinnati didn't know who we were, let alone other regional people. We can pick up the phone and we can get the attention of people now. People know who we are. We have a positive outlook. We've got more hotels in the mix. With more hotels, new hotels, upgraded facilities. We're going to continue to be a powerhouse and grow into a bigger powerhouse. We are what we are, and we're very proud of who we are. And I think that's the one thing, as we've created all these new events. I just had a meeting this past week about a potentially new exciting mountain bike event out at East Fork Lake. If that happens next year, once again, more visitors, more people. We are who we are. We're building a future. We're building these events because that's the best way that we can predict our future. And I still think it looks awesome. I appreciate everyone's attention. I don't know if you have any questions, commissioners.
Commissioner Painter, Commissioner Humphrey?
I don't have any questions.
I would throw one question out there. In going out and looking for that sports facility and doing your research and everything, where we are now and with the discussion that we've had tonight, Jim, if you had the opportunity to take a look at that again or something comes up, you know, what lessons learned is in the works that we might do differently or that we might...
My kids might disagree with me, but I guess I need to be louder. There's a lesson learned in everything in life, and I think I could have done a better job, or as a CVB, we could have done a better job communicating to people what we were permitted to tell people at the time without messing and creating a competitive disadvantage for us. So, you know, I think it's one of those things we could have gotten out there a little bit faster and a little bit louder about what we were trying to do. There was no secrets here whatsoever. We should have come to you guys probably sooner and just told you more about what our plan was, even though it was at that stage still in the draft stage, and it's still in the draft stage.
Well, I know before coming to the board, I was in a position where we tried to secure fixed price contracts in many, many instances. And one of the things that we used on those was a capture manager. And until really all the details were made available, it was impossible to make a go, no-go decision. Until you knew what you had in front of you, it's hard to commit to say go or no go, or all the things in line that you need to have in line to say it's a viable project. And one of the things, just to give an example, we have quite an investment out at South Afton. There are people that look at South Afton. There are prospects that come up every once in a while, and sometimes those come up and they go to the wayside. And we never get to that point to where a big company comes in and says, this is what we want to do. Help us facilitate doing that. They just come back and say, we looked at the facility, you don't have enough water, you don't have enough sewer, and we're going to pass, and we're going to go to the next place. So those don't particularly get communicated in total details. So
I can commit to this at the point that the boxes are checked that satisfy the requirements under that House bill where the commissioners are permitted to vote on it. At that point, we will come forward with a plan in a public setting and tell people exactly why. Because then we'll have all the pieces of the puzzle. And there'd be no reason for us not to share that.
And I think that collectively is the way to go forward. I think that's a great path forward. And obviously when an opportunity comes up, the Economic Development Department, those details can be brought back to them and they can lead that charge and then pull on the other entities that they need, including townships and villages and cities that we have within our county. We're here to facilitate what you want in your community, and we're dedicated to that.
We are at the public participation point of the meeting. If anybody would like to make a comment, please come up to the podium, and you have up to 3 minutes. If not,
Go ahead.
yeah, John?
The only comment I have is, and maybe you could address this, is just explain a little bit about a Convention and Visitors Bureau. My understanding is it's a private company, sort of. I guess I don't know. Even though it's funded by a lodging tax, could you explain a little bit about that and how your rules for you are a little bit different than, like maybe a town?
Hey, John, just as a quick point, John McGraw, trustee, Union Township. State your name and.
I think that's caused a lot of confusion.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Under Ohio law, Convention and Visitors Bureaus are private entities. And the reason that they're primarily private entities is because of the competitive nature of what they do. We're not only competing with our neighbors, we're competing, as I said earlier, with the entire region. So you can't have an absolutely open setting all the time because you would end up losing all your opportunities. So it's a balance. It's a balance. We are a 501c, and so we have certain issues that in there that we take care of. But it's important for us to remain in a competitive position as we move forward.
Okay. Well, if nothing more, we will approve the minutes, commissioners, tomorrow morning at regular session. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Ubel?
Yes. Thank you for coming. Have a nice evening.